All right. Glad to be back. Hope everybody's happy and having, well, a good Friday and getting ready to go into an awesome weekend. Um, I got some good content for you today. I'm pretty excited about it. This is actually something that I kind of struggle with a lot at my work is coming up with really good APIs and making sure that there's type safe. And in this case, we're working with analytics, which is the kind of thing where it's code that's so much often overlooked, right? You kind of these are little message senders that are just kind of sprinkled throughout the code that are the kind of things that are really important for product people, but maybe not for developers. Actually, let me kind of bring up. Yeah, there we go. Hey, oh, and by the way, welcome to the new office. You can see some new Lego down here. Got the original Saturn V back there. I am currently working on revamping pretty much everything in here. This is a whole new setup, and it's really cool actually. I'm going to be able to shoot from a bunch of different directions and a bunch of different things, but not quite there yet. I want to go and make sure that there's all the lighting and everything's set up and everything's cool, and also that you can play with the lighting, which of course you can. You can also always go over to our Discord server and jump on our Lightbot channel. He's actually available from anywhere, and you can change the color under the rocket to whatever you want. So jump in, have some fun with that, and there you go. But I think there's some cool content today. What we're going to look at is, I mean, you can think of it sure as like another fresh take at looking at analytics, but also just a fresh way of looking at functional overloading, event maps, keyof in TypeScript, and closures in TypeScript as well. So really some cool stuff to learn about. So what we're going to do is we're going to start working on this little project over here. So basically we have 3 buttons, and we're going to go and bring up the inspector panel. And one of the cool things about the analytics library that we're using for this is called analytics. Nice. Guy actually was able to camp on the analytics namespace, which is awesome. It's first extensible, which is really cool. It's got, you can plug in different things. So if you're talking to Omniture or you're talking to Segment, you can go and plug in those. And I guess conceivably, if you were to go and change a product from going from, Omniture directly to something like Segment, which is more of a redirector, you could go and change out the plugin, and Bob's your uncle, Penny's your aunt. There you go. But okay, so another cool thing about it is that, okay, if I go over here to the inspector and I go into Redux, Redux nowadays is actually that's interesting. That's a cool view I haven't seen before. Nice. All right. That's the log monitor. How about the inspector? There we go. Okay. There's a this Redux dev toolkit is actually extensible. You can go and put in your own kind of stuff in here. So that's really great. And what they've done is actually in this library, in a debug mode, allow you to go and track. So I can click on view item, for example, and there's a track event that goes out. And it's got, some basically, we just made up some stuff. Hey, you're viewing an iPhone, whatever. Same thing with add to cart. And these are the kind of things that you'd expect to see in an analytics system. And also checkout as an example. Okay, so let's go see how this is done and why I consider the existing implementation not so good. So we've got our main app, and we've got a UI, and that UI basically has all the stuff sort of hard coded in it, right? We go and get the analytics from a singleton class, from a singleton module called analytics bad. If we're going to go over here, all we're doing is we're basically just importing analytics, we're making it, and then we're exporting it. So there's no wrapper on it or anything. It's just basically, hey, here you go. And we have some callbacks in here using use callback out of React. And they basically just call analytics track, and you give it the event name. So in this case, checkout, and then you give it any properties you got. And what happens in the real world is that there's multiple different locations where you might add to cart, and product comes along and they say, hey, we need to go and add some new parameters to this. We need to change some parameters, and because we need new tracking information or whatever. And they get changed in some places, they don't get changed in other places because there's no type safety around this. You can basically just at any time put in anything you want in here, and there you go, and it's fine. There's no checking on it. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to in these examples. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to use functional overloading in TypeScript. So what's that? Or function overloading? It's where you basically say, okay, I've got a bunch of different type signatures, and then I'm going to give you one implementation. So you say, in this case, function can take a string, it can take a number, it can take two numbers, two strings, or it can take, and then there's the implementation that can take any value, right? And it does A plus B. So basically you get, the signatures that you're looking for, and then the implementation that you want. So we're going to start off with the implementation of this. So we'll go and create a new thing called analytics overloading. Hey, Allison, how you doing? Do you prefer Redux Context API because it's better for debugging? Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of structures all the events, and it just looks nice, and I get it for free because I put in debug true in there. Okay, so in this case, we want to go and create a new function. So we'll call this track event, and track event is going to take that string. All right, event name, which is a string, and then it's going to take some properties. And at this point, all we really know, and I'll use the record utility type, is that we have it's probably a string, and then the value is some sort of unknown. And then in here, we want to call analytics.track and give it the event name. Oops, hey now. And then the props. Okay, so let's go over here to our UI, and we're going to make a new one called UI with overloading. So we're going to look at this three different ways. We're going to TSXX, that's really cool. I don't even know what that is. It's in the multiples of TSX. Okay, and let's bring in track event. Oops, okay, we'll go over here to overloading. And now we can bring in track event. Cool. And we can just change out analytics.track for track event. Now this is a little better. It's a somewhat of an improvement because now at least we're not necessarily bound to that particular analytics library. If we want to go change that out, that's fine. But yeah, we're really not getting any actual checking at this point. If I go and change that, no problem, everything's good. If I go down here and I add a prop, no problem. Well, syntactically that was a problem, but it doesn't know, it doesn't care. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that this value is always checked and these properties are always checked. So let's start off with getting the properties. And I kind of have like a shake and bake thing. So we got this, these are the different properties that we expect. So let's go over here to our, oh wait, did I mess up bad? Oh no, that's right. Okay, cool. All right. So we'll go over here to analytics overloading, get rid of those, bring in these interfaces, cool. And what we can do now is basically just say, hey, we want to go and connect using overloading. So again, we're going to define this track event multiple times. We can say, okay, well, the event name is checkout as a string. Then we want the properties to equal checkout event props. Oh, and we have to return a return type as well. So in this case, void. And there we go. And let's see, add to cart is going to take the add to cart. Hey, hi, Anthony. Hi, Ennis. Nice meeting you. All right, so what are you complaining about now? Okay, not compatible with the signature. Okay, so we're just gonna call this unknown. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Okay, and then we'll do view product as well, and throw in the view product event props. Okay, cool. So let's go and check out to see if we actually have done better on this. So let's go over to our UI and let's see. Is it going to complain if I change this? So yes, it will. So now that it doesn't know about a checkout, or it doesn't know about this, so it's going to complain. And then if I go and add, like let's say I want to say I add a count, it's going to go and tell me that's bad. And then in that case, I would go, and if that's actually correct, then I would go over and I'd alter these props and make the change. And then I would actually see across the entire code base that we were actually putting in count if it was required. So that's really cool. It's really nice. And I'll tell you what, having looked at a lot of this kind of at scale in very large projects in JavaScript, this is a huge problem. And this is a huge win in terms of building out an API that actually kind of stands the test of time. Okay, so let's actually try this out. So I'm going to go and change this so I can see it. So this is called overloading. That's fine. How's everybody doing? Everybody going to have a good weekend? Hopefully some people are starting to get some vaccines going on. All right, let's see. So UI with overloading. And here we go. So we'll then use it. Oops, didn't like that. So let's see, UI with overloading. Okay, cool. All right, let's go over here. So UI with overloading, or overloading as it were. Let's refresh, hit view item, and oops, hold on. Sometimes it gets a little, yeah, there we go. Okay, nice. Okay, so there we go. Everything's cool and it's all type safe and nice. Now, there is a point of contention, I would say, but I think this is an interesting one that we should look into. So let's do overloading or overloading, but with an enum as opposed to a string, because I'm not a super huge fan of string constants like that, or string literals that have. I like to reserve my strings for stuff that maybe a human would look at. So let's go build a new one called analytics with overloading and enums. In this case, we're going to go and export a new enum, and we're going to call it analytics events. How about that? And we'll just say that checkout is checkout. And so in TypeScript, your enums can be any values you want. By the way, interesting thing I just found out recently. So don't put enums in your .d.ts files. Kind of really bit me in the butt just recently. So strong advice not to do that. Apparently there's kind of some issue around that, and it's been a little while. And the errors that you get back from the compiler are not in any way related to what you just did. So, if you're doing, I'm not exactly absolutely 100% sure why there's that .d.ts, but in this case, don't use that for enums. All right, let me pause for a second. Okay, cool. Oh, Anthony, that's awesome. Congrats. Very cool that your wife's getting her first shots. That's great. Okay, so let's go over to our UI with overloading, and we'll make a UI with overloading enums. UI with overloading and enums. Following on a trend there. Okay, and let's bring in our library. All right, okay, cool. And now we can bring in our analytics events. And there we go. So there we go. And I think this is just better. There's definitely a debate in the community around if this is the right thing to do or not. But for me personally, I like that, one, you're getting all the advantages of the compiler to be able to say, okay, so if I just want to go and rename this, I can go and rename, let's see. Can I do that? Can I rename that symbol? Can I call it add to cart event? And look at that. See, it's actually gone around and it's fixed that for me. There you go. Add to cart event is add is checkout in this case, but that's not right. So let's do that. Add to cart. But it's gone through and it's made the change everywhere. And I don't think you're going to find that when it comes to a string literal. Hey Daniel, nice to see you. Thanks for showing up. Okay, so that would be the last thing too. Event name, we go and get that enum, and so that makes everything cool. Also, I think we got to make this a little bit more interesting. Put that in there as that. So if you have any questions about this is functional overloading in TypeScript. It's really cool, actually. You can go and see this in a couple of different places. One thing I like to do every once in a while is do something like this. I go and just type in a random kind of keyword that's around like window.add event listener, and I just go to its type definition or its definition, right? And that will show me, here I can kind of double click on this, right? So they actually do this in the libdom TS, right? You see a lot of this kind of functional overloading stuff. And it's every once in a while I find an API signature that I like that's actually out there in the wild, and I just go and look at the type definition on it, and I just kind of steal it. And so that's one way. If you're like, oh, I don't know, functional overloading, how is that done again? Like, go find one that you know actually happens that way. Go to the definition, and then pretty much right there, you'll see how it's done. Okay, so we were talking about 3 different ways to do analytics. And the next one I want to look at is using the keyof operator. And this is actually the one that I've implemented in the current project that I work on, because I think it's actually really cool. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's start with this. We'll call it analytics event map. Yes, like that. Coolio. And we're going to create a new exported interface called analytics event map. And in there, it's going to say, hey, well, there's a key called checkout that should be of type checkout event props. And there's a key of add to cart, which should be the add to cart props. And there's a key of view product that should be the view product props. So what are we going to use this for? Well, actually, do we even need that? I don't think we need to export this either, so that's cool. So we are going to go and change around track event so that event name is now going to be a key, right? A key into there. Checkout, add a cart, whatever it is. And the way that we define that as a generic is we say that key, in this case, has to be something that extends the key of, a key of that analytics event map. And so what this basically says is that key in this case, or event name, has to be one of these 3 things. Right? It's a little weird that extends in there, right? But this is actually, that's what it is. That's how you do it. And then the event map, we're going to say, well, the properties of then are going to be whatever the properties are of that event map. Pretty cool, right? Pretty clean, I would say. So let's go now and actually try and use this. So let's go get rid of all of that stuff and go over here to overloading like that. And let's see. So new file, UI with event map. I'm going to spell it right this time. And let's see, event map. Okay, so UI with event map. Sure, why not? It's very subtle. Like when I click on this and then I double click on it, it goes, it's just the tiniest little thing that says that's a new selection. Okay, so let's try something out. Let's try like track event and check it out. Cool, this is really neat. Oh wait, hold on, this is still the overloading version. Okay, so let's, hold on. Let's go over here to event map. Is that right? No, it's all one word. Okay. All right, cool. So now let's go over here to track event map. And this is neat. So if I go like that, look at that. It's telling me it's got to be one of these 3 things because VS Code is smart enough to know that track event, that key value has to be something that is a key in that event map. So now I can say, oh, this is an add to cart event, right? And then I go over here And now I get, hey, okay, cool. Well, add to cart event has to take a product and a quantity and all that stuff. So that's really, I think that's actually, to my eye, actually even better than the functional overloading hinting, which kind of gives you like 3 different flavors in this case. It gives you like the checkout version, the add to cart version, the view product version. This one I think is actually a little bit more usable when it comes to what you get, how you get hinted on stuff. But does it actually work? So let's go try out giving it a different event name. Doesn't work. Cool. And let's go try out a different, like add a value. Doesn't work. So that's cool too. So that's really good. Now we have got type safe analytics on this. So let's try it out in the real world and see if it actually works. So I'm going to bring in, let's see what we call it. UI with event map. Like that. Okay. Put it over here. And I'm making all 3 of these so that when you actually get the code and you can try it out for yourself, you have all the different flavors, and you can just kind of pick which one you like. So, all right, let's try going over to our hang. Okay, I didn't put up the enum version. My bad. Sorry about that. Let's go see. Auto select looks good. Click on, yeah, okay, pretty cool. Let's see. Okay, track there. Track here. That add to cart. To a checkout. Checkout, nice. Okay, so I think you can see why I picked the event map version. I just think it's a little nicer, right? I like that you get hinted right away on the type. You know, that track event. You know, you get, hey, it needs to be one of these. I think that's just great. It's really nice. Okay, and if you wanted to do the enum flavor on that, let's actually. I didn't cover this in the other video, but we could try that out here. I'll just show you and then I'll roll back real quick. So let's bring in the event, the analytics, the enums, and then in this case, all you do is you'd say, I think this is the right way for that, analytics.checkout. Yeah. So that would be your syntax if you wanted to do the enum variant on that, so you didn't actually ever have to type that string again. So there you go. A little bit more extra knowledge for you for watching the live stream, which I certainly appreciate since I've actually got the SN11 live stream going over there in the other video and trying to see when they lift off. We're super excited about that. Okay, cool. So that's 2 out of 3. And thank you all for sticking around. Let's go for 3. So the third variant is, let me just refresh my own memory about what the third variant is. It's been a long week at work. Okay, the third variant is where we create function creators. So we're going to use a closure to give ourselves some nice little functions that we can then use to call and make event and fire off these events. And you don't even have to at that point give it the name. You just give it some properties and away it goes. Okay, so in this we will get to learn about closures as well and how that all works, because that's actually really important. Okay, so let's create our analytics funcs. And so the idea on this one is we're going to return we're going to export a bunch of functions that all go, and you just give them the props and away they go. There's a function named checkout, and there's another one called add cart, another one called so-and-so, all that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do is we are going to go and create a function, and it's going to be private to this module, and we'll call it create analytics sender. Send it. And it's going to take a type. And then we're going to give it the event name that we want. And then we're going to return, the return out of this function is going to be yet another function. So we're a functor in this case. And in this case, we're going to take the props, which are going to be whatever that type is that we gave it. And then we're going to do our analytics send, our analytics track. And we're going to give it that event name. And this is going to work because we're actually going to capture, this is a closure. All right, hold on. Let's actually make it work. This is a closure creator, right? So this create function creates a new function, which captures any state that you would have in this function and gives it to its child. Hey, Rodrigo, good to see you. So in this case, we're going to create a new function called checkout or checkout event, whichever we want to call it. And we're going to call create analytics sender, and we'll give it the checkout event props. And we'll give it the name checkout. So what's going to happen here is that when we start up, when the application starts up, as part of the main startup sequence, it's going to go and run this create analytics event sender or create analytics sender with this checkout. And then that function is then going to go and return another function which has that event name already captured in it. So when we call checkout event, all we're going to need to do is just, give it the list of products or whatever, is the kind of thing that we wanted in there. Okay, so let's do the same thing for add to cart and view product. Let's see, so add to cart and view product and view product. Now let's see, so over here, checkout event becomes add to cart event. And the reason I did this is because I actually really liked what I saw from a system called Effector, which I looked at a couple weeks ago. And it does a similar sort of thing. So you get, when you have a store, it's an event-based store. And when you create the events, you get these little event senders like this. And I think that's really, really nice interface. Okay, so we got our functions. Let's go and actually use them. So let's start with this one. And let's go over here, new file called event, our UI with funcs. And first, let's bring in our library or a module. But we don't have track event in this case. We've got a bunch of different senders. We've got add to cart, we've got checkout, and we've got view product. Nice. There you go. Nice. Yeah, people were like, "Where's the Lambo?" Because it took so long to make. My God. But here it is, and eventually it'll actually go someplace cool. There's actually a whole lot of Lego behind the camera that you'll get to see in the next couple of weeks as I'm able to move this setup around. I'm actually now everything is on a really cool standing desk that I can actually move, and so there's all kinds of great angles that we're going to come up with and show off. Okay, so add to cart. Something visually interesting, right? You don't want to see the same background in every video. Checkout event. So now I get to actually remove that string, and that's nice too. I think that's great. The less stuff that you can mess up, I think is the better, really. And then finally, view product. And we'll call this one with, event functions. That works. Okay. So that's very clean, right? And so there's no string to check, nothing to mess up there. But in this case, if I go and add, some rando value there, it's going to tell me, no, that's not right. So there you go. Okay, so let's go over here and try it out. We'll go over to app. And we'll bring in UI with funcs. And then we'll bring it in. Cool. All right. So let's try it out. View item, looking good. Cool. And yeah, view product, add to cart, doesn't add to cart. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I've actually got an at walker back there and or ATST walker and slave one. I think that's about all I have for Star Wars stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So there you go. There's 3 different variants. Let's go over real quick what they are. Let's just look at our sender library again. So we had our bad one, which is basically just, hey, here's the analytics library, go for it. All right. That's not good. We've got our event map that has same sort of, all the props are all the same all through this, but it's got this map, and then you can use the map to basically give ourselves a generic function called track event, which requires that the key be one of these 3. And then the props are whatever the corresponding props are, because now you can say, okay, so with that key, what are those props? And away you go. I think this is actually so cool that we can do this in TypeScript is an amazing language when you start getting into it. Okay, and then there's our functional overloading variant, which is the first one we looked at. All the same props up here, but now we've got 3 different flavors of track event. And in this case, what you get when you try this track event, you get this nice little 1 of 3 thing down here, and you can kind of go through and see what the different variations are. So that's really cool. And then let's see our last one, and I did a similar sort of one with enums. It's the same thing, but with enums in this point. And then finally, the one that we just did, which is around functors. And so we've created an internal only functor called create analytics sender, which is a function that returns another function. It takes a type as well as an event name, which it then captures as it creates a new function that takes properties that require that type, and then it just sends off an analytics track. Oh, wow, so many people. Cool. Oh, thank you so much, Andre. That's awesome. Andre Robert and Isaac, nice to see you. Welcome to it. Okay, so let's see. I think that's about done with that. Actually, some questions for you all. So I'm doing a video, hopefully that it gets released next week. I think it will, around common React mistakes. In this case, it's around use effect and how people kind of use effect incorrectly. Because I get a lot of that. I get people saying, hey, what's my problem with this code? And then I'll go in and I'll take a look. And it's because, they don't really understand use effect and they don't really understand how functional components work. And so kind of dealing with that, it's very sort of, not beginner stuff, but, common issues that people see when they use effect. But if you have some ideas around different things that bite you in the butt when it comes to React, be sure to let me know here or in the, okay. Hello, Sean, how you doing? Be sure to let me know in the comments or over on the Discord server, which you should jump onto and have a chat with us. If there are things that bite you in the butt, and then I can go make videos on those. And hopefully help some people out. Anywho, thanks for so much for watching. Thanks for coming by. I know it's a big day. There's SN11 going on the live stream, and I hate to compete with SpaceX. I don't think anyone can compete with SpaceX. I'm certainly watching it, and I hope over the next couple of days, we get to see more of the office and get to see the new setup and some new Legos and all that sort of stuff. Lad, good to see you again, sir. And okay, I'll see you over on the Discord server.